So I want to talk a little bit about burnout in homeschooling. I think it's probably very, very common for homeschooling moms and maybe even children as well, for us all to face burnout. And what do we do to get through those burnout stages and times when we just either don't want to do school, we don't feel like doing it, or maybe the load has just gotten so heavy and so burdensome that we just don't feel like we can go on. I think that there's different ways that we can combat burnout. These are just from my own experience. I don't feel like I am a veteran homeschooler because I have not graduated a child yet. My daughter is 12 in 6th grade, and my son is 10, and he's in 4th grade. But we've been doing it the entire time, and I have learned a little bit along this journey of homeschooling, and I do know that there's a lot more to learn, but what I have, I give to you, and just want to encourage you guys. Burnout is something that I have to say I face probably twice a year, every year, maybe even more sometimes. I usually get it at the end of the school year for sure. It's like when we're trying to get, like right now as I'm videotaping, it's in April, and we were calculating today to see how many more weeks we have and how much more work we have to do in order to complete the year, and trying to calculate when we'll all be done. Another time I get burnout is probably right before the holidays, and I'm ready to take that break for the holidays. And sometimes I will just be honest. Sometimes I second guess and third guess and fourth guess whether or not homeschooling really is for us. But once I get like my focus and my mind back in track and back in order, I do know that homeschooling is something that our family is supposed to do, and we are to continue homeschooling. And but there are just different things that I have to do to for myself and for the kids to stay on track and to stay motivated. So for burnout, I have to say one of the number one things that I do for our family and for my kids is that we will take breaks. We take frequent breaks. We live in the DC area, and there is so much to learn about and see and experience here, and that is homeschooling. That is an amazing way for homeschooling to come to life, is to just take a break and go on a field trip. So we do that, and we usually pack up our math books or language arts, and they'll do those things on the way. The other thing that I have found, this is probably the number one area that I am learning that I need to really, really just pull the reins in and just and kind of correct this. As a Christian, the Bible is definitely my plumb line, and that is my guide. And there is a verse in the Bible that says, it's in Romans 12, I believe, the first few verses that are in there, maybe verse 2, maybe 3, where it says, we can be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Okay, so I'm just going to be so totally real. What I can find myself doing during the school year, while the kids, now that my kids are 10 and 12, they are really pretty much self-guided. There are certain areas that I help them with, like with history and some readers, but a lot of the other things they do on their own, and I'm there when they need me. And what I can find myself doing is I can be surfing the net and start Facebook is definitely, I love Facebook for many reasons. I enjoy Facebook because I have friends all over the country, and I do enjoy Facebook. And I can find myself getting on Facebook or starting to investigate and research other things that I'm interested in during the homeschooling day. The kids are doing their seat work. I'm there and I'm available. I'm not really doing anything else at that time, so my mind may be wandering and looking in these other avenues. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it can definitely lead to things that are probably not beneficial because of just that verse that says we are transformed by the renewing of our minds. I can get my mind so focused on maybe what some other people are doing, say on Facebook. I see some other people who are maybe into some network marketing, or I'm a hairdresser in my previous life before children. I sometimes I get the urge and I want to work again, or I actually was a fitness instructor in my my past life, and I can get sidetracked and just kind of long for what used to be. And then so I'm literally looking online and looking at some of these things, and this is literally is what has happened to me just this year. And this is an example of me just looking, and then there'll be like seeds that are planted in me that are literally starting to long for a life or for a season in life that is just not where I am right now. I do have a dream of starting a salon and maybe having it in-house, and I do think that that will probably happen at some point. And I do want to be motivated and looking at things and researching how to do that. However, I can't be so far into that season that I'm not in the season of homeschooling. I don't know if that's making sense. It makes sense in my mind, but I don't know if I'm conveying the message. I guess what I'm saying is sometimes when we know that we are called to homeschool, and we need to be here with the kids, and we need to be here teaching them and training them and guiding them, it's okay to research and do things. And I'm not saying that life has to be 100% on homeschooling at all minutes and hours of the day, but for me, I just have to be careful in letting my mind and my heart get somewhere else that God has not called me to for this season of my life. And I have to say that is probably the number one way and reason I get burnout, because my mind is focusing on this, but my body has to deal with homeschooling, okay? And then I can find myself being cranky, being lethargic or lackadaisical, or just not helping the kids the way I need to be because my mind is somewhere else. That's honestly, I could probably have just I could have just like done that whole 3 or 5 minute spiel in just that one sentence, just not letting my mind be somewhere else when I really need to be focused on my kids. That is probably a number one area of some mistakes that I've made even just this last year. But I do want to say, like I said, I don't think that it's terrible in measures to dream and to have plans, and I do know some homeschooling moms that actually work full-time, and they have their full-time job, and then their kids are at a stage where they can kind of self-guide and self-teach, and we're getting there. We are definitely more there than what we've ever been, and that's a beautiful thing too. So as the kids are getting older and they're able to do things on their own. So as far as combating burnout, something that I've done is I've gone to different websites and have found some podcasts that deal with homeschooling. Oh, I should have written it down. I think that the website is called homeschool.com. I think it's homeschool.com. That it literally has a lady who calls up homeschooling moms and interviews them, and she records these, and they even take in callers, and there'll be the subjects and the topics rather are just vary from how to teach high school, how to get into homeschooling, how to teach different kinds of curriculums or whatever. It is an amazing tool for motivation and for, again, that same verse. We are transformed by the renewing of our minds. So wherever our mind goes, that's where we follow. So if we can just get filled with just motivation and tools, and just be equipped with ways to homeschool, maybe curriculums. And I just find myself even going into out west in Colorado where I lived before, they had a store called Mardell, or Mardell's. I don't know if it has an S on the end or not, but Mardell. It was an amazing place to just go and get motivated because it was a whole bookstore. It was a Christian bookstore, but also had homeschooling. The other half was homeschooling. Just to be around these learning materials and maybe conferences that we can go to, or co-ops, and being around other moms that homeschool, just really filling ourselves with more information and more motivation on why other moms homeschool and what they do and how they do it. And it really helps me to kind of combat burnout, and actually feeds more motivation, and then it actually gives me like some excitement to just dive back in. So, yeah, so I know I'm kind of like just stopping kind of really abruptly right there, but that's pretty much the points that I want to get across, the two things of just really controlling where our mind is going, so that our minds aren't somewhere else when we know that we need to be homeschooling, and then trying to use resources to motivate us, to keep us focused on what God has called us to, and that's homeschooling, if that's the case. So those are just, from my experience, what I have experienced, and what keeps me motivated. So hopefully that will be an encouragement for you as well. Okay, good night, or goodbye. It could be daytime when you're watching. Have a blessed day.